All right, it's time to call the annual nominating meeting for the People's Caucus to order. First order of business, I would like to thank everyone who has come out and attending tonight. This is certainly the best turnout we've had in quite a number of years, and it's very much appreciated. The mission of the caucus, which is a nonpartisan civic organization, encourages candidates to seek local elected office. Anyone resident in the village of Briarcliff Manor for at least 30 days and who is eligible to vote in a general election is automatically a member of the caucus, irrespective of any political party affiliation. Any member of the caucus may seek nomination for election to local elected office or to the caucus executive committee. First order of business, I'd like to thank the village and the board for making this facility available to us again, and for taking care of it on a nominal fee basis, and for all of them attending tonight. And for Mr. Zegarelli, who saves us the custodial fee by agreeing to open and lock up. He's in the back there waving. He also provided some water for everybody. So. That's not a bad thing. All right. We're going to try to keep this short and sweet. We're going to start with approving the minutes from the January 10th, 2018 nominating meeting. Would you be good enough to read the minutes?
Yeah, in an effort to, get to the meat and bones of this, or the meat and potatoes of this meeting, I make a motion to waive the readings of the minutes.
You want a motion? We have a motion? Thank you.
Can you just say your name and address, please?
Yeah, Keith Austin from Briarcliff.
Thank you.
Do we have a second? Mark Wilson, thank you.
27 Law Road. Thank you.
Okay, I just will let you know that there are some reports in the back of the room, including the minutes to the meetings. There's a treasurer's report, and there's a broadcast schedule for the Altice rebroadcast of the video that is being filmed tonight by Cecilia Roars of Visual Touch Media. She's been doing this for us for a number of years and does a great job, so we want to thank her as well. Since we've dispensed with the reading of the minutes, we'll move right to the treasurer's report. Mr. Before I forget that, I always do this. Our caucus committee, executive committee, Aaron Spring, secretary, Larissa Wayne Palmano is the vice chair, Zachary Giampa is the treasurer, and Clarissa Gioscia is the member at large, and I'm the chair of the committee. So, Zach, if you'd move forward with the treasurer's report.
Sure. So for anybody, in order to be brief, I'm not going to run through the entire report. If anybody needs one, they are in the back. But basically, we run on an estimated budget of about $3,600. Currently, we have funds available in the amount of $2,844. And we basically work off of we work off of donations made by residents of this town. Now, normally, we have a fundraiser that we hold yearly. It's a annual fundraiser and wine dinner. We are dispensing with that this year. So if anybody is looking to make donations, please don't wait for a fundraiser or something in the mail. We need, please just send in donation checks. You can mail them or drop them off at the People's Caucus. So as we anticipate, we'll have expenditures in the amount of $3,600. We expect donations to be somewhere in the amount of $1,800 to $2,000, which would leave us with an ending balance of about $1,000 to $1,100.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? All right, we'll move right along. We are broadcasting on Altice Channel 15. They have allotted us a 90-minute slot for the Meet the Candidates debate, which is going to be too short a time period given the number of nominations we're expecting tonight. But it will be videotaped and it will be available on the caucus website, peoplescaucusbm.org. manor.com, and it should be posted within 48 hours of the meetings. We will also, in the back of the room where the schedule for the broadcast times, it will also be posted on our website. And once we know who all the candidates are, we will prepare absentee ballots, which will also be posted on our website. If you'd like one sent to you, you can either download it or send an email to a member of the executive committee, and we'll see to it that it gets to you. At this point, I think it's come time to open the nominations. And in the order of mayor first, and then the two village trustees. Do we have any nominations for mayor? Mr. Wasserman? Is there a, go ahead.
Oh, I'd like to nominate, I'm honored to nominate Steve Vesio for mayor.
Thank you.
Name and address, please.
Paul Wasserman for Elizabeth Court.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Yes,
Jessica?
Jess Vectorelli, 97 Locust Road.
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Dan Shine?
Lori Sullivan,
Thank you, Mr. Shine.
Address, please.
160 Whitson Road.
Sorry.
Can you repeat what they're saying?
Yes, certainly. Dan Shine nominating Mayor Lori Sullivan. And the second was from,
Mark Ballhorn.
Thank-
I'm honored to second the nomination for Lori Sullivan.
thank you, Mark.
Address, please.
14 Satinwood Lane, Briarcliff, Manor.
Are there any other nominations for mayor? Seeing none, we'll move on to the nominations for village trustee. After all of the nominations are in, we will ask each of the nominees to come up and make a speech up to 5 minutes long to explain who they are, why they're interested in the position, and be available for the next Meet the Candidates meeting. So I will now open the nominations for village trustee. Mr. Hunt?
Kevin Hunt, 17 Hungerford Road, offers a party nomination for Mark Wilson for trustee.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Stephen Elks? Okay, and could, that was 23 Hurst Road. I don't know if she could hear it in the back, so.
23 Hurst Road.
All right. Any other nominations for trustee?
Brian Zerman, I'm Bruce Bloom, 18 Jackson Road, Briarcliff Manor, and I nominate Brian Zerman.
I apologize. I did recognize you, but I didn't call out your name, so. And do we have a second? John Caucus.
John Caucus, 164 Pine Road.
Thank you very much. Do we have any further nominations? I can't see in the back.
Robert Bayer,
Yes.
114 River Road. I nominate Ed Midgley for trustee.
Okay, and do we have a second to that nomination? Margaret?
Margaret Midgley, 1 Idaho Place.
Thank you very much. Any further nominations? Mr. Vesio?
Nominate Peter Chansky,
And address, please.
Old Briarcliff Road.
And do we have a second? Susan? Chatsky, sorry.
206 Pine Road.
Thank you. And how many is that now?
That's everyone. Oh, that's 4 village trustees
Okay.
and 2 mayor, you know.
Do we have any further nominations for village trustee? Okay, those nominations are now closed. So just to recap it for everybody, we have an opening for mayor and an opening for 2 village trustees. So we will be having a contested election. The Meet the Candidates will be done in a debate format. And I'm just going to read a brief piece on that so everyone is prepared. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes as an opening introductory statement. We will solicit questions from the members of the caucus, either by email to the executive committee or in the audience at the time of the meeting. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to a question. They can be brief and do it shorter if they like. And each candidate will get a chance to respond to each question. Then each candidate will be allowed up to 1 minute to add anything they'd forgotten to say or to comment on anything made by the other candidates. As I mentioned earlier, we expect it will take over 2 hours. We have a 90-minute broadcast time, but we'll have it on our website for anyone who wants to watch it completely. All right, at this point, we would like to call the candidates up in the order of their nomination.
Distribute this now.
Not yet. At the other business at the end.
Got it.
You want to announce the candidates who are coming up?
Sure. Okay. So we'll start with Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we'll start with our mayoral candidates, and this is just in order of nominations. We'll start with Stephen Vesio. Or we'll start with Paul Wasserman, please, to nominate Stephen Vesio.
Good man.
Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to nominate Steve Vesio for the mayor of Briarcliff Manor. There have been some political dynasties of late. There was Bush 41 and Bush 43. There was Clinton 42 and Clinton 45, almost. Now there is another one on the horizon, Vesio 26 and Vesio 28. I'm actually making that part up. I don't know how many mayors Briarcliff has actually had.
And that's not their ages.
Steve would be a great asset and leader for Briarcliff Manor. I've known Steve for about 15 years. When we first met, Steve was a recent college graduate, and we were on the opposite side of some elections. I learned a lot from Steve then, even though he was just a kid fresh out of college. He taught me that even though people could be on opposite sides of issues, you can do so civilly, respectfully, and productively. We ended up becoming very good friends over the years. During a time when it is hard to get people involved in the community, Steve has been a dedicated volunteer to our village for 15 years as a member of the fire department, including several years as captain of Scarborough Engine. He's been a member of the planning board for 4 years and chaired the B-Zone committee. Soon after we first met, my mother-in-law fell and broke her hip. And when the responders arrived at the front door, mid-morning on a weekday morning, who was there? Yes, it was Steve. Steve has shown a long-term commitment to the people of our village. Steve's greatest contribution to the village came recently, as a private citizen. The village considered a change in the law that would have allowed up to 700 homes to be built, testing the village's infrastructure and Ossining School District. While no one else was paying attention, fortunately, Steve was attending village meetings. He may have been the only one attending the village meetings. He learned of the proposal, alerted others, and organized a successful effort to shelve the plans. A lot of what the village board does concerns infrastructure. Steve has 16 years of experience in heavy construction, especially in municipal projects. His experience and abilities would be a great help in dealing with the projects we have ahead of us, including the Tuttle Road drainage, sidewalks, and dealing with the county. Steve has ideas to complete the work in a much more cost-effective manner. The village of Briarcliff Manor will be very lucky to have Steve Vesio as its mayor. Thank you.
Now calling up Steve Vesio.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for that wonderful introduction. I'd also like to thank the members of the Caucus Executive Committee for continuing this nonpartisan process for our village. My name is Steve Vesio, and I'm honored to accept the nomination for Mayor of Briarcliff Manor. I'm a lifelong resident in the Ossining School District and currently live not far from where I grew up with my wife Jessica and our 2 young children, Ariana and Bianca. I'm a Lehigh University graduate with a degree in finance and additional studies in civil engineering. Professionally, I'm the CFO of Laws Construction, overseeing all aspects of corporate financing, insurance, safety, and project management for complex municipal projects in excess of $100 million. I've also been a licensed real estate broker for the last 15 years. I have fond memories of my childhood, walking with my mother down the brick sidewalks on our way to Weldon's, going to the village pool and camp, playing ball at Chilmark Park, as well as just an overwhelming sense of community. It was that sense of community that led me to join the volunteer fire department more than 15 years ago and the village planning board 4 years ago. During my nearly 4 decades living here, I've seen a lot of changes, growth, and challenges in our village. And I've also seen many areas where we can improve. I sincerely love this community, and I know with the right leadership, Briarcliff can only get better. I'd like to talk about 3 major issues currently facing our village: the B-Zone, our aging infrastructure and equipment, and the ever-increasing tax burden on residents. There are petitions being filed with the village to repurpose several of these corporate campuses in Briarcliff's B-Zone. These proposed changes of use present an enormous threat to what we have all come to know and love about Briarcliff. I've been extremely focused on the B-Zone since 2016, when I chaired the B-Zone Advisory Committee. Any misstep in dealing with these properties will greatly impact the quality of life with more traffic, parking issues in the downtown, increased demand for train station parking, as well as our police, fire, and EMS will be significantly strained. To prevent these consequences, we need to enact a moratorium on the consideration of any petitions for a change of use in the B-Zone and implement some of the recommendations the Advisory Committee made nearly 2 years ago. The village must keep residents informed of what is being proposed by requiring, at the developer's cost, a mailed notification to affected residents as well as a sign on the property. Our village needs to do a better job protecting the interests of and communicating with our residents. I'm concerned about the state of our infrastructure, as well as how we've been dealing with their upgrades. In need of attention are our downtown sidewalks, parks, drainage, DPW fire equipment, and Tuttle Road, all of which things I'm familiar with fixing. Capital projects are an important part of keeping our infrastructure in good working order. However, when not properly managed, they can turn into a real nightmare. Poor traffic management by contractors, uneven road plates, and weak contracts have allowed our village to become a construction free-for-all. To protect our village, we need to strengthen our contracts, demand more accountabilities from contractors and Con Ed, and plan ahead for all upcoming needs so they can be coordinated to reduce overall construction time and disruption in our village. We have to be more focused on opportunities as well. We missed a really big one recently. The village agreed to take over ownership of Pleasantville Road from the county, hence the new curbs and sidewalk that you've been seeing. Unfortunately, though, even after completion of this $7.5 million county-funded project, there will be a half-mile gap in our sidewalk on Pleasantville Road, from CSI all the way to St. Teresa's. Prior to accepting the roadway, or agreeing to accept the roadway, the village should have required the county to pay for and install these sidewalks. If we didn't miss that opportunity, our village would have had a continuous stretch of sidewalk all the way down Pleasantville Road at the county's expense, but now the village taxpayers will have to bear that cost. Lastly, we need to find a way to be more efficient with our hard-earned tax dollars and look for ways to create efficiencies within our government. Rather than perform repairs and upgrades with our own DPW forces, the village has been hiring third-party contractors to conduct the work, resulting in higher costs and ultimately more taxes for residents. Speaking of taxes, for the 90% of village residents who live in the town of Ossining, about 10% of your taxes finance the town's operations. Yet, the town provides no services to village residents other than tax assessment. We cannot continue to subsidize the town of Ossining's operations. If elected, I will create a committee of residents to focus on the town-village concept. It is a very complex issue and will take a significant effort, but I'm willing to undertake it to ensure the long-term financial health and independence of our village. With my experience and skill set in dealing with complex municipal projects, as well as my extensive real estate background, I am uniquely equipped to lead our village through these significant challenges and opportunities. Hard work, volunteerism, integrity, honesty, and dedication are the foundations upon which I was raised. If elected mayor, I pledge to not only listen to your concerns, but through consensus, find solutions to address them.
Your time is up, Mr. Vesey.
I just have 2 more sentences. As well as work tirelessly to move Briarcliff forward in a positive manner. I look forward to running alongside trustee candidates with a fresh mindset, Peter Chatsky and Ned Midgley. Together, we can ensure Briarcliff will remain the tranquil community we have all come to love. We really can do better, and we absolutely will. Please come out to the debate next week, and don't forget to vote on January 23rd. Thank you very much.
The next mayoral candidate will be given an extra 20 seconds. For the village trustee nominations, please keep your speeches within the frame time that we give you. Just keeps things going. Now we will move on to our next mayoral candidate's nominator. Will Dan Shine please come up to nominate Miss Lori Sullivan, Madam Lori Sullivan?
Good evening. My name is Dan. Pardon me. I'm a little shy at these environments, but I'll just speak from the heart for a second before I look at my speech. I've been here 15 years, and I've been here in Briarcliff 15 years. My name is Dan Shine. I came here, I lived in Tarrytown prior to coming here, and my wife Allison and I wanted to live in a town that was great. And we wanted to be in a community with people like yourselves that are like-minded, that want the opportunity for your family, for your kids to grow in a great environment. So that's why I'm here in front of you right now. So pardon my unease here speaking. I will get through this. My name is Dan Shine. My wife Allison, who's upstairs volunteering for the library committee tonight. As I said, we've been here 15 years. We have two wonderful children, Aaron and Patrick. They're 12 years old. They're in the middle school at Briarcliff, 7th grade. They love it. Life is great. Christmas made everyone happy. Holidays, everyone's good to go. We live at 160 Whitson Road, and I've been residents for 15 years, as I said. While I'm here, I have served on the Village Recreation Committee. I've been Little League Commissioner. I'm currently the CYO Coordinator for St. Teresa's with Kieran O'Malley. As I said, I love this town. I can do whatever I can do to help volunteer here and help make this a better place. It is my absolute pleasure. I'm here before you tonight with the pleasure of nominating Mayor Lori Sullivan for re-election. Now, I've known Lori for 25 years. I'm sure you can't believe that. I look a lot younger than that. But, and yes, she does. She wrote that. No. In her time as mayor, her achievements for which she's overseen are numerous and visible throughout our village. And just to name only a few, the community center and the library complex, which we're a part of tonight, is now completed. The 9A North State Road project is an extraordinary accomplishment as the road rebuilds and the upgrades, as are the rebuilds and the upgrade to Law Park Pavilion and Park Playground 2. Now, just to drill down a little further on that 9A North State Road, I know the gentleman before spoke about his job, what he's been doing the last 15 years, I believe he said. I said, Lori grabbed 3 different forces to get that job done. That takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of hand-holding. Takes a lot of promising to do that. You got to stick to it. You got to take no. You got to take yes. That turns to no. That turns back to yes. And you got to make things work. Lori has done that throughout her terms here. That's why I'm proud to renominate her for mayor. Am I over the time already?
Yes, Mr. Shine, your time is up.
Oh, cool. All right. I'll wrap it up in a second. All right. Perfect. Lori brings a passion for service and is a tireless worker on behalf of all of our residents. There has been no lack of transparency. She has no ego, definitely has no ego, no personal agenda, and she seeks no accolades. She has made herself available to anyone who has come forward and contacted her directly, and she has earned the right to be re-elected again and again, and it is absolutely my pleasure to renominate Mayor Lori Sullivan.
Madam Sullivan, please come up.
Dan, I heard a very important thing. You like to volunteer, so don't be surprised when you get a call about maybe standing for the caucus.
Let the record show mayoral candidate Sullivan will have 5 minutes and 20 seconds as opposed to just 5 minutes.
I'm going to talk as fast as I can, so bear with me, everyone. Thank you, Danny and Mark, for your nomination. And second, I stand here tonight as a wife, a mother, a 30-year practicing attorney, village trustee, deputy mayor, and for the past 4 years, your mayor. But I'm first and foremost in this caucus process, simply and proudly a resident of the village of Briarcliff Manor. My husband, Pete Francis, and I have been residents of Briarcliff for over 20 years and have raised our daughter, Kristen, Briarcliff class of 2011, living in the Tree Streets. Over the years, I volunteered in Girl Scouts, teaching CCD at St. Teresa's, sitting on our Rec Advisory Committee, Ethics Committee, and since 2009, a mayor of the village of the Board of Trustees. Since my first board election in 2009, I have served as the caucus candidate on the Board of Trustees and stand here today as your mayor, seeking to be the caucus candidate for the mayor once again. During the past 4 years as mayor, we have accomplished a lot. My continuing commitment to infrastructure improvements, search for non-tax revenue sources, improving and upgrading our village services, land use development, and capital improvements, while staying well within the tax cap and reducing the overall village debt, I believe is evidenced in the accomplishments of the past 4 years, a record I'm proud to run on. As mayor, I was able to rebuild destroyed relationships with other municipal officials and spearhead a partnership with the state, county, and town to make over a decade-old plan and dream come true. We redesigned and rebuilt the 9A North State Road intersection. We also rebuilt and improved our pavilion and park after the devastating fire, all in record time, as well as completed the community center and library complex with the needed design corrections and upgrading. We rebuilt the Law Park Playground, built the Club Comfort Station, and completed the redesign of the Pleasantville Road, North State Road intersection. It's exhausting. We have approved plans for the fall of 2019 for the redevelopment of the dredging of the Law Park Pond and redesign of the Law Park parking lot, and have approved a study for the redevelopment of the youth center and the surrounding properties. During the past 4 years, we also redeveloped our police department from a department grossly understaffed and equipment challenged to a community-wide recognized department ready to move forward into the future. Just this past summer, Trustee Mark Wilson and I reached out to partner with the school district on security design and programs for the safety of our children that continue to be on the table today. Over the past 4 years, the board has approved substantial equipment upgrades for our fire and ambulance, supported the departments in the investigation and recovery process during trying times, and moved forward with ambulance billing. During the past 4 years, our village has been tax cap compliant while continuing to improve services, notwithstanding escalating costs, reduced our village debt by millions of dollars. We are a board that will not spend and, so to speak, kick the can to be a future debt problem. Finally, during the past 4 years, we have moved ahead of the curve on land use. With rezoning of the Central Business District, we formed an advisory committee to recommend improvements. The committee provided the village with short, medium, and long-term goals for our Central Business District, a roadmap for downtown improvements well underway, and I thank Lou Wachtel and the committee members for their work and dedication. Now it's come to my attention that there's misinformation being disseminated, whether inadvertently or intentionally, concerning certain land parcels primarily abandoned in our village and future development of those parcels. Let me state the true facts. The former Pace property. The property is an R40 zoned parcel of land that operated as a school under a special use permit. Since the sale brokered by CRBE, the property has been abandoned. We have hired special counsel to prosecute the property owner to the fullest extent with respect to the condition and maintenance of the property, and have affirmatively rejected any claim of existing special use permit rights, and assisted in the denial of the property tax exemption. With respect to the surrounding property, we have approved funding for a drainage study for Tuttle Road, and will be forming an advisory committee of residents to look at the property use and drainage issues. B-zone properties. Early on in the process, the village in an open forum received input concerning the trends in land use and possibilities for the village's B-zone properties. In further exploration, I formed an advisory committee of residents for the purpose of recommending whether the village comprehensive plan should be amended with respect to the B-zone properties. The committee said yes, and the comprehensive plan was amended accordingly. That is all that has been changed. The comprehensive plan as amended allows the village to consider other uses of the B-zone properties under certain compliant and approved processes. Period. The end. There is no zoning code amendment with respect to these properties, nor any under consideration. There is no cookie-cutter zoning answer, as has been suggested. In fact, the cookie-cutter zoning answer was looked at as part of the board's due diligence obligation and absolutely rejected by the board. I'm going to continue. An email alleged to be from
you
the
have about
from
15 seconds,
well,
madam.
I'm going to continue. An email alleged to be from former mayor, from former trustee, Mr. Daniel Zucchi, in support of Steve Vessio, Peter Chatsky, and Ned Midgley, was sent asking for money to be sent to the home of former mayor, Mr. William Vessio, to support an alleged nonprofit organization in opposition to my candidacy, promising campaign contribution anonymity. The email stated, as a fact, that the major issue facing our village is the current, quote, "Board's pending legislation that will allow developers who own commercial property to convert them, B zones, to condo development. They allowed this to proceed without disclosure and transparency," end quote. Let me say this loud and clear. That is not true. That is a lie. There is no legislation pending concerning the B-zone properties. The information in the email solicitation is false and misleading.
Madam, you've had an extra minute.
The election must not, I'll finish then. The election must not be decided
Madam.
on misinformed fear, rather pride in our present and future.
Madam,
Thank
time
you.
is allotted.
Thank you.
Let it be noted. Let it be noted, this is a People's Caucus meeting, and you have to follow the rules of the People's Caucus. We do not favor any side or anything, but we are here to be fair and give you the time that is allotted. We already gave an additional 20 seconds. Please follow the rules. Otherwise, we're going to just cut you off and you're going to go back to your seat. We're being nice here, but follow the rules, please. That goes for everybody. Thank you. Up next, thank you. We're going to now go into the village trustee nominations, and we'll start with, for village trustee Mark Wilson, we'll call up village trustee Kevin Hunt to give the nominating speech. You have 3 minutes sharp.
Sharp.
Understood?
15-second warning, and that's when I'll know where to speed up.
I'm not giving you a warning. Yeah, you'll have to sit down. All right. Whenever you're ready, trustee.
My name is Kevin Hunt, and I am a very proud village resident. I have known Mark Wilson for as long as I've been a resident, which is over 20 years. And the time that I've known him, we've worked together very closely at our church that we both belong to, at Cornell University alumni activities. Our kids are roughly the same age. I know that he's been involved in a lot of that as well. And for the last 6 months or so, 8 months, as on the Board of Trustees. And I'm telling you, you absolutely want Mark Wilson as a Board of Trustee member. There's no question in my mind. Mark has impeccable qualifications for this position. He has a variety of very important corporate positions as CEO, CFO. He has all sorts of other things. He's very good at what he does on the Board of Trustees as well. One of the things I want to tell you is that Mark is very, very committed to this whole process. He is very, very engaged in all of the issues that come before the Board of Trustees. I've heard stories about trustees in the past who've run on single issues, and when that gets resolved, you don't really hear from him anymore. Mark, I have the pleasure of being up here to give the 4th nomination speech for Mark Wilson's candidacy. And I got to tell you, in those 4 terms, he has done an incredible job of being engaged in every single issue that's come before the village. He has spent a great amount of time developing relationships with other government officials, state senators, state assembly people, county executive, other county people, as well as very much interactive with the people in Ossining and all over the general area in the towns of Mount Pleasant, Ossining, so on and so forth. Mark has taught me more in the last 8 months than I could have possibly imagined. He is incredibly engaged with residents for whom are involved or affected by certain things that go on, and he goes out of his way to make sure that they have a voice. He listens to them, sometimes to the point where I shake my head and say, why do you keep doing this? But he really is. He cares passionately about this. And again, I want to reiterate, it's passionate about all of the issues that come before the board. And I have the great privilege and honor and excitement and enthusiasm in making a nomination for Mark Wilson for Board of Trustee member. How am I good?
You got 7 seconds to spare.
Okay. 2 guys walk into a bar. No.
I just want to know if you were one of those 2.
The People's Caucus will now recognize candidate Mark Wilson for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Executive Board of the People's Caucus, and thank you to my family for supporting me in this effort. I will, to keep to your 5 minutes, skip through some of this also because Mayor Sullivan has already mentioned them. I won't have you go through a death march of my speech right now. So I will skip a bit from the written copy and focus on what hasn't been said.
We will post your speech on the website, so it won't be missed.
Okay. So essentially this, 6 years ago, I first came up here to say why Denise and I moved here 26 years ago for this fantastic village as we left New York City. And the reasons are still the same. It's a great place to live. We raised both kids K through 12. They're both, off the payroll, one working in Boston, the other back in law school in Virginia. I'll touch briefly on the past 6 years with more to come next week when we have to meet the candidates. Basically, the trustees of the Village of Briarcliff Manor have responsibility for a local government that provides all local services with the exceptions of schools. Consequently, a diverse and varied business background is helpful in successfully understanding and acting upon the wide range of issues that come before the board. I find it helpful to sort those issues into 3 basic groupings. Operational, again, as Mayor Sullivan said, we maintain a high level of service enjoyed by the citizens of Briarcliff while remaining within the property tax cap structure. We've accomplished that. We will do it if reelected. Infrastructure. I will not read through the whole list that Mayor Sullivan already did, but essentially, promises made, promises kept. We redone this complex. We have more on the come for next year in the arc from behind the youth center, on the fields, all the way to the pond and the parking lot. On Pleasantville Road, it goes down from finishing off the Pecanical River Bridge to the ugly, disgusting railing over the bike trail, which we'll paint ourselves if we have to, and basically taking over the road as finished from the county, and we will work to get funding to finish that little stretch, as Mr. Vesio mentioned earlier. How am I doing on time? Two left?
2 minutes and 50 seconds.
Good. All right. Basically, land use and governmental relations are key. Maintaining the essential character of Briarcliff, well, we have to meet the needs of changing times. We know all too well from legacy issues with the club project about the dangers of privatizing profits for the developers, socializing benefits for the village at large, and socializing the burdens on a very small group of village residents. Again, not to belabor it, we went through a B-zone planning process that was chock full, I was on that committee, chock full of good recommendations at the 5,000-foot level, which went into the master plan, seasoned with a little public comment, and then we have good recommendations at the 1,000-foot level, which we'll be using as we go through this petition-by-petition process, which, I may add, was recommended by a number of former Briarcliff officials, some of whom are in the room tonight. To date, we have received 2 petitions. We work with the other governmental entities. I will not belabor it, but the biggest one was, as the mayor said, the North State Road intersection. Everyone knew for 20 years we needed a left turn lane, but it never happened. And now it did. We brought it together. And we're working on coterminus, as Mr. Vesio said, and several other things with the Austin School Board to mitigate the issue of overcrowding and expenses. Lastly, how much I got left?
1:30.
Okay. In the spirit of transparency, allow me to shine some light on the land use track records of the 3 board challengers. Challenger number 1 is over by Albany Post Road and understandably concerned. The issue is this. He works for CBRE in the city. CBRE here in the village has not been good. They basically sold the property for $17 million with Pace University and ran for the hills. And basically, we've been left, and especially those people on Tuttle, Hawthorne, and Elm, left holding the bag. And we've been chasing those foreign owners around and around to get them to pay up and cure all the violations. So the question is, do we really want a senior officer from a firm such as CBRE on the board, even though that person may have had nothing to do with what happened at Pace? Challenger number 2 is concerned about Briarcliff Road. How much time?
30 seconds.
Okay. And basically, he's not good with development there, but he's good with development at the other B-zone properties, including self-storage at Albany Post Road. The last challenger was concerned about the Padovan law on Pine Road.
several years ago. As mayor many years ago, he advocated the construction of a parking garage at the Scarborough train station, which fortunately was never built as he was removed by the voters after only one term. I'm wrapping it up now. Members of the Board of Trustees must represent all 8,000 residents residing in all 6 square miles of Briarcliff Manor, not just those living in their respective neighborhoods. 2 sentences. I respectfully ask for the honor of your votes for myself and my colleagues so that we can continue making Briarcliff better for all. Say yes to a proven track record, promises kept, and a dedication to transparency. Thank you. How did I do?
Just for the record, that was 5:20, and no, we're doing it for everybody because
Everybody the extra 20 seconds.
since the mayoral candidates got it, we'll give the trustee candidates it. So you have 5:20, not just 5. Moving on.
Sergeant at arms instead of secretary.
Yeah, right. Now calling for the nomination of trustee candidate Brian Zerman. We're going to call up for the nomination Bruce Bloom. And you have 3 minutes.
I don't need 3 minutes. So my name is Bruce Bloom. I am a resident of Briarcliff Manor. I've been living in Briarcliff Manor for 33 years. I met Brian Zerman 32 years ago when we both had a little more hair and it was a slightly darker color. Brian has when he came to Briarcliff, he had one son, and we lived in the condos behind the stores in town. Since then, he's had 2 other children. So Brian has a very unique perspective of Briarcliff, because not only has he came as a young family growing, all his kids went through the Briarcliff Manor school system, so he's gone through the elementary school, the middle school, the high school. He's put his kids through college. And he has a further unique perspective because he's soon to be a grandfather. So he has a very broad understanding of the needs of this community of Briarcliff Manor. Brian's wife, Rory, has been working for the village for 25 years. That allows him to have another more complete understanding of the unique needs of our community. Brian has coached every kid in every sport he possibly can, so he understands, again, the needs of families. Brian is a 2-time term village trustee, so that means he's spent 4 years in the village as a village trustee. So he has So there's no real learning curve for him at this point. He's been doing this, and he's been doing it very successfully, and I think the board has done an amazing job over the last 4 years. I'm very complimentary to everything that they've done. Brian, before that, he was a executive in the People's Caucus. He also was an advisor in the Recreation Department. He's spent a lot of his time and his energy just helping the village of Briarcliff. I think one of the unique features of Brian is his fairness and he doesn't come with an agenda. He's not here because there's a specific issue that he's interested in. He's here because he wants to help the community of Briarcliff become a much better, healthier community. So thank you very much, and again, I hope my friend Brian is nominated for the village trustee.
Now calling up Brian Zerman. 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
God, I can do it. I can do it. First, wow, there's a lot of people here. It's most in the 2 terms that I've served. Thank you very much for coming out and getting involved. Thanks, Peter, Steve, for, bringing all these people out, and Ned, you too. I'd like to thank the Aaron Stern and the People's Caucus for keeping this great tradition alive. It's very unique. I wish more people knew about it, but there wouldn't be any more room for them. I'd like to thank Mayor Laurie Sullivan, the Board of Trustees, Trustee Wilson, DeRose, Trustee DeRose, Trustee Hunt, Manager and Village Manager Phil Zigarelli, sleeping back there. Phil, you up? All right. For all their help they gave me along the way. Also like to thank you, the audience, for coming out. I'd like to thank Bruce Bloom for nominating me and John Caucus. I've known as Bruce said 32 years we've been close friends. We moved next door to them, and they became very special friends with me and my family. John Caucus, who seconded, I've known him for 25 years. I've lived next door to him. Him and his wife, Anna, wonderful, wonderful people. They seem to have adopted my family into theirs. I believe that it's the Blooms, the Caucuses, and other people like them who make this place a great place to live and why people want to move here. I'd like to accept the nomination and run for a third term. I sat here, excuse me if I'm speeding through, I don't want to go over. You look pretty angry there, I don't want to get you angry. Accept the nomination to run for a third term. Don't get me stopped. I sat here 4 years ago when asked what were the most important issues at a nominating, not nominating, but the meet the candidates. And believe it or not, I said it was the vacant properties, the large vacant properties in Briarcliff that were the biggest issue. They still are. And I will continue to make sure that those properties will not be overbuilt and that appropriate uses will be found. Just like we said no to the Sony building, we did not want a self-storage area. And the people who are sitting here who came and spoke up, we listened to you. We have some very exciting and important projects on the board I'd like to see to completion. First is attaining the Atria Law Field. I'd like to bring that over from the school and add it to another jewel to this area, to the community center, to the library, to the pavilion and the pool, where those fields would be great. A new youth center, we're starting to look at plans for it to redevelop this youth center that we really, really need. We could use a gym more than anything else. I know that Bruce Bloom likes to play basketball. We'll get you in there. We'd like to continue the work and improvement to our central business district. And again, I can't thank Lou Wachtel enough for heading up the committee. About me, I have always considered myself an extremely lucky guy. I've been with my wife for 40 years. She's my guiding light. I'm a better person because of her. She's worked for the village for 25 plus years in multiple functions, and for the last 17 years as your court clerk. So don't get any tickets tonight. I have three smart, successful, and healthy children with a grandson on the way, a wonderful, wonderful daughter-in-law. They all went through the Briarcliff school system. They've all been part of the community. They've worked as lifeguards, camp counselors, umpires at Little League games. My in-laws, the Gioshas, they live 2 blocks away from me. We are a close-knit Briarcliff family, to say the least. As far as myself, last 4 years as a trustee. Before that, I was on the People's Caucus Executive Committee, sitting right where you were. Recreation Advisory Board for 10 years. I'm still active in youth sports, presently on the board of the Briarcliff Youth Soccer Club, which helped propel in certain ways the varsity team to the state championship this year. I've coached soccer, Little League, basketball. I was the assistant ASO commissioner for several years. I am presently the liaison for the Recreation Advisory Committee, the Briarcliff Manor Scarborough Historic Society, the Briarcliff Manor Fire Department. I sit on the Planning Board and the ZBA meeting. I consider myself a for guy, not an against guy. I'm running for re-election for the trustee seat that I have worked extremely hard for you in the village for 4 years. I'm 59 years old. For the last 32 years, I've lived in Briarcliff. For the last 57 years, I've lived in a 10-mile radius. Where I grew up was much different than Briarcliff, light years away. I wish I grew up in Briarcliff Manor. It is an excellent place to raise a family. I believe that you are a product of your environment. The best way I could describe myself is I'm a guy from the neighborhood, but the neighborhood has taught me many lessons. Respect your neighbors and friends, people and property. Remember where you came from, who you are, how you got to be the person you are. Be loyal. Always be ready to help and lend a hand. Look out for each other. We are more the same than we are different. Understand that we all have different points of view, and sitting at the table, we can always learn from others' point of view, whether you agree or disagree. The neighborhood teaches you to stand your ground, even against odds, and even if you are outnumbered. But the most important lesson I learned is that you must always protect the neighborhood. My neighborhood is Briarcliff Manor. I was always protected. I promise you that the B-zone properties will not be overbuilt, and appropriate uses will be found. I serve at your pleasure. I believe I have earned the right to ask for your vote. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Briarcliff, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Right on time.
All right, continuing with our village trustee candidates. Now moving on to, excuse me, please pay attention. We'll now move on to Ed Midgley, and his nominator was Robert Mayer. So Robert Mayer, please come up.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'd like to tell you how long I've been a resident here, but it's so long I've lapped everybody in the room. It's downright embarrassing. My name's Bob Mayer. I'm here to nominate my friend and neighbor, Ned Midgley, for trustee of the village of Briarcliff Manor. Ned and his family have been residents of Briarcliff for over 21 years. Ned grew up in Terrytown, and his family has been involved in many facets of life along the Hudson River. His father served on the school board of the Terrytowns. He was also chairman of the board of trustees of Phelps Hospital for many years. Ned and his wife Margaret raised two sons, both of whom participated in youth sports in Briarcliff. Both sons also attended Austin schools. With a family history of community service and involvement, it is no wonder that Ned now wishes to serve Briarcliff Manor as trustee. I think it's important to note that Ned lives on the west side of the village and will represent those individuals as well as families rising in that area, and a balance that's been missing from the board for a while now. With an MBA from Harvard and a master's in accounting from NYU's Stern School of Business, along with his professional background in real estate, Ned is uniquely qualified to address the pressing issues surrounding the B-zone areas in the village. With the interest generated recently in the alternative uses for these commercial properties, it will be important to have someone of Ned's caliber, with his depth of knowledge in real estate matters, to guide the village through important decisions. In addition, his management and accounting skills will be of immeasurable benefit while serving on the Board of Trustees. As a former trustee in Briarcliff, I can attest that the skills and dedication Ned brings to this table are not only relevant, but of critical importance to our village today. And I hope you'll accept this nomination and vote for him in the coming caucus election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Now calling up Ned Midgley.
Thank you. Good evening. Bob, I want to thank you for that really nice introduction, and Margaret, I really want to thank you for seconding me. It's, finally, you're voting with me for a change. As Bob said, I've lived in and around Briarcliff for the last 55 years. Not all in Briarcliff, but I live in Briarcliff now and chose to live in Briarcliff, and that was 21 years ago. We moved in when our oldest child was born. We sent both our kids to the Austin School District. Steve Vesio, someone else who's in the Austin School District. I think the slate that Peter and I and Steve are trying to present are also trying to bring in the Austin school perspective into Briarcliff as well, because as we've heard a lot of talk about the B zones are largely in the Austin School District, which is already overcrowded. As I said, I'm pleased to run with Steve and Peter. I think we bring a unique skill set, a depth of knowledge, and as well as institutional knowledge of the village to our ticket. And Bob walked through my professional experience and my education. I think it's uniquely qualifies me for being an asset and sort of a leading force as the village is considering real estate solutions. My practice in real estate has exposed me to many areas of real estate. I've advised individuals, not-for-profits, private and public companies regarding their real estate holdings, occupancy, and exit strategies. I've successfully completed in excess of $2 billion worth of transactions. I think it's important to understand because I not only have represented developers, I've also represented owners, and the different aspects. So I've seen real estate issues from a whole different perspective and pretty much on a 360 basis from all sides of a transaction. It was sort of interesting. I'm sort of the new guy here. Everyone else has been on the board before or have family who's been on the board before. And, it's sort of interesting that, I guess I was told that politics ain't beanbag. And so, my first opportunity, to get up and speak in front of my village, all of a sudden someone is attacking the company I work for. I can't let that go unsaid. CBRE is a Fortune 500 company. We are the world's largest real estate services firm in the world. The fact that we had an agent successfully represent Pace University in the sale of their property, our first duty as an agent is to our client, not the village. This is something that I think the current board and mayor probably should think about. Your first duty is not to the developer, it's to the village. Briarcliff stands at a crossroads today. We as a village have a unique opportunity to choose what we want our village to look like in 20 years. We can easily become the overcrowded suburban commuter community with overcrowded schools, but that's not why I settled here. I don't think it's why any of you have settled here either. My family chose a friendly neighborhood village with strong schools and open space. Development for development's sake is not a strategic objective. Real estate developers focus on profits and do not represent the best interests of the village. Or they don't represent the best interest of our school districts, plural. For real estate developers, Briarcliff is simply a brand that they will use to maximize their profits. We need to preserve and protect our brand, and remember, it's not the village's responsibility to ensure a profitable investment for a developer. Basic questions need to be asked, and one of the basic questions is, how do we end up where we are? Why are we possibly considering 700 plus housing units in this village when we have an approximate number of housing units of 2,600? That's a 25% increase in housing units. We haven't even gotten to projections on population increases and the impacts. Can our school systems support systems support these new residents? Roads, parking, train station, 20 seconds, right? Why would we allow thinly veiled spot zoning? Have we considered impact fees? Have we thought about just saying no? My key guiding principles for real estate development are preservation, scale, and character. I have the ability to negotiate with the savviest, deep-pocketed business practitioners in the nation. I've already done it. Anyone can say yes. I have the ability to say no. And again, the team I'm running with, Steve and Peter, I think offer the best talent that this village can have. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you vote on Wednesday, the 23rd.
Now for village trustee candidate Peter Chatsky, will William Vesio please come up to be his nominator?
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I am Bill Vesio, and I was your mayor for 10 years. During my tenure, I had the nickname Mr. Blunt. So staying in character tonight, I'm going to be brutally honest and blunt. I find our village at a watershed moment where not only is there a void in leadership, but the village is drifting down a river with dangerous currents. The present course places in jeopardy our very foundation and the quality of life that we all enjoy. In life, business, and especially in politics, we all encounter rivals. Doris Kearns Goodin wrote a book about Abraham Lincoln's cabinet called Team of Rivals. I am going to borrow that title to announce my nomination of Peter Chatsky for the election to the office of trustee of our village. Events created by the current Board of Trustees is so off course that 4 former mayors, several former trustees, 2 former planning board chairs joined other residents to send a letter to the current board. That letter asked the current board to grab an anchor and back away from the waterfalls ahead. I'm sure the candidates will discuss the B zone in detail. Our village and its leaders have lost their way, plain and simple. Peter and I and others have agreed to take the oars and pull together and return the village to a course that once again represents our residents and preserves our village. When I became mayor, the board set goals and respected other views and relished diverse discussions and debate. We established rules of order for meetings, rules that the current board adopts at each year's organizational meeting and then ignores them. Openness of government, lack of focus, representation of residents, transparency, and open discussion are gone. Executive sessions are abused to the exclusion of you, the residents. I have known Peter for over 18 years. Peter is a family man and a successful business owner. He's intelligent and provokes people to think. He's a quick wit, and you need that in politics. I believe that Peter, in concert with a new mayor and new trustee, will return transparency, be open to differing views, seek consensus, enforce our laws uniformly, and debate in public and better represent you, the residents. Peter and the team of rivals will bring experience, expertise, and a commitment to make Briarcliff Manor better. The team will preserve our quality of life. It's my honor tonight to enthusiastically nominate my former rival, Peter Chatsky, for trustee in the village of Briarcliff Manor. Thank you.
People's Caucus now recognizes village trustee candidate Peter Chatsky for 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
Tall people. Thank you, Bill. We took different paths at times, but for more than 20 years, you and I have been united in trying to improve our village. I especially appreciate the endorsement of people like you, people who really understand the position and the skills needed to get the job done well. By the way, I would have called us friendly rivals. Good evening, I'm Peter Chatsky. I enthusiastically accept the nomination for trustee tonight. Rather than spending my time tonight talking, my precious time, by the way, talking about my previous role as mayor, the lessons I've learned from more than 3 decades as CEO of a software company that I created, my innovative approach to management as a partner in a venture capital firm, I'd like to take a more personal approach. Let me answer the one question I've been asked roughly 1,000 times already. Why? Why am I once again seeking a spot on the village board? Like all of you, I'm a proud resident of Briarcliff Manor. I've lived here almost 25 years. This is a village that offers a terrific lifestyle and people whose company mostly I enjoy. But we are facing changes and challenges that come up maybe once in a generation. The potential for redevelopment of large parcels that we've all heard about tonight, including Pace, Phillips, the former Merle building, the Sony property, corporate campus at 555 Pleasantville, could dramatically change life for all village residents. I'd like to preserve the open space feeling of our village, rather than cede all the park-like corporate campuses to a series of gated communities. Most of us do not want hundreds of new homes or the additional strain on either of the 2 school districts, our roads, our village services, and especially our volunteer emergency service providers. I want the same things as my neighbors and my friends, to live comfortably in my village, know my family is safe, our children will receive a quality education, our homes will remain a great investment for each of us. There are other things I want too. I want to continue to improve our downtown business district. 15 years ago, Value Drug, Mrs. Green's, Euro Pizza, Starbucks, those did not exist. I ran then to make sure the 9A shopping area could be revitalized. We made our central village district more valuable to the community. We can do even more. I want our streets and intersections safer for drivers and pedestrians. I want road and infrastructure projects to be well managed, to be completed swiftly with minimal inconvenience to residents. I want a well-designed, long-term, community-minded approach to land development. And I want creative opportunities for older residents, like the club, which I helped launch after previous administrations had stifled it. These projects can offer cultural, environmental, substantial financial benefits for the entire community. I want DPW to get all the resources they need to do their job effectively, while saving money on unnecessary outside vendors. I want to trust the financial management of this village is strong, and our bond credit ratings are supreme. And I want modern technology for Village Hall, Residents are better informed, can be better informed, citizen suggestions are quickly and easily addressed, and government is run as efficiently and as effectively as possible. I want to see a friendlier, more open, and welcoming leadership that draws on the experience of residents who are ready, willing, able to share their expertise. And always, I want our village to be a fun place for families. I want these things, and along with Steve Vesio and Dan Midgley, I know we have the experience, leadership, expertise for the challenge. We will all bring a great deal of enthusiasm and energy to getting the job done and done right. That is why I'm here before you tonight. I'd like to thank Bill again for being kind enough to nominate me. Thank you, Susan, and our kids for always backing me up. Thanks to the Caucus Committee for organizing the election process and not cutting me off tonight. And I thank all of you for coming out tonight. I look forward to seeing you all next week at the Question and Answer Forum, and I hope you'll support me, Ned, and Steve at the polls on January 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. I want to thank all of the nominators and the candidates for their presentations. And if you'd like to have candidates, if you'd like to have your presentations on our website, please email me and we'll make sure they get up there. At this point, we're going to open nominations for the Caucus Executive Committee. And I do want to note that there's a future chair sitting right next to me who knows how to run a meeting. He's only 21, but he's there. No, next item. Do we have any nominations for the Caucus Executive Committee? Mr. O'Leary? Who would you like to nominate? Come on.
I'd also like to commend the members in the audience and the village residents for the great turnout. It's nice to see standing room only. I think it's the first time we've had standing room only in all of the caucus meetings that we've had. I'd also like to commend the Village Caucus, People's Caucus, for the great job they do. I think we should give them all a round of applause. It is my honor to place a nomination for the Executive Committee. Aaron Stern to be the chair. Larissa, I don't have my glasses on, sorry. Wayne Palmino, vice chair. Zachary Giampa for treasurer, and Aaron Spring for secretary. Is there a second? Numerous seconds.
Name, please.
Okay, I'd like to close the nominations.
Mr. O'Leary, can you just say your address, please?
35 Beechwood Way.
Thank you.
I'm the one who has to close the nominations. He has more experience than I. Are there any other nominations for Caucus Executive Committee positions, either a slate or individuals? Seeing none, the nominations are now closed. At this point, we will turn to some other business that we need to put before the audience. Mr. Spring?
Oh, yes. First and foremost, thank you for everyone who came out. Village trustees and mayor, thank you for your service. For the people who stepped up to run, thank you. And I know it's a Wednesday night, so thank you for everyone. I know you could be doing a lot of other things. And given that it is a contested election, we're going to have a special voting meeting on the 23rd of January from 3 to 9 p.m. So what we're asking for is volunteers to step up to poll watch in 2-hour increments. Candidates obviously can't, but families of candidates can. So this sheet is going to be going around. If you have an hour or two on that day, we'd really appreciate it. You know, the People's Caucus is volunteer run. That's what makes it a beautiful thing. So we ask if you could step up for an hour or, you know, to just to poll watch and be a part of this process. You know, it really, truly is appreciated by the entire executive committee. So I'll just. Sure. So special voting meeting's here, right?
Yeah, no, the voting meeting is at the youth center.
Okay, it's going to be at the youth center. Okay, so the special voting meeting is going to be at the youth center from 3 to 9 p.m. The general election will be here. But, so that's behind the police station, behind the post office, for those of you who don't know. And you're going to go in through the basketball court entrance, and that's where you'll vote/poll watch. So if you can make it that day, again, much appreciated. And we'll pass this around. Please provide your email and phone number so we can contact you a week or so in advance to kind of, you know, confirm that you're going to watch the polls. And again, thank you in advance.
And once again, a reminder, anybody who would like to submit questions in advance to the executive committee that will be used at the Meet the Candidates debate, you can send it to our email address, peoplescaucus@gmail.com, or any of the individual members of the caucus executive committee. We will also pass out index cards at the Meet the Candidates debate for anyone who comes up with a question at the last minute. Thank you all very much. And now may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. O'Leary, a second? Second. Mayor Sullivan. Oh, Mark was first, okay. Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned.